Have you been wondering how much it costs to live on cruise ships full time and wondering if you can afford it? Well, I did it. I have officially been living on cruise ships on a budget for 6 months. In the past, I shared my budget and my expenses for the last 5 months, and in this video here, I am going to share with you how much my December expenses were and all of my non-cruise expenses. I'm also going to show you my YouTube income for this month, show you, for those of you who are interested in maybe doing a YouTube channel, show you some of the analytics behind what I'm doing, and I'm also going to talk about how we can get to know each other better. If you're ready, let's get started right now. In December, I had 5 cruises on casino deals. The first cruise was out of Miami on Royal Caribbean's Independence of the Seas. I was on there for 5 days. The cruise cost me $143. If you're new to the channel, just a quick intro. I'm Linnell. I sold or gave away everything that I own, and now I live full-time on cruise ships. I quit a toxic job, I left a toxic marriage, and now I live full-time on cruise ships with just a backpack and a carry-on. While I search for the place that I will eventually retire to, I'm spending 18 months living on cruise ships. I booked 60 cruises using casino deals that I had on 2 cruises. I explained all of that in my very first video, and if you haven't seen that yet, I'll link that in the video description so you can check that out. My budget during these 18 months is $2,500 a month. $2,000 is for my cruise and cruise related expenses, including travel, any hotels in between cruises, and any expenses like that. Then I have another budget of $500 for any miscellaneous items. For instance, my cell phone and any other miscellaneous things that I have to purchase. Today I'm in the posh dining room here on Carnival Freedom, and in this video we're going to take a look back at last month's expenses. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking down at the slides, so I make sure I give you the numbers right. As I mentioned, the first cruise that I took in December was a 5-day cruise. It was $143. It was a free cruise, and I only paid the $143, which was for port fees and taxes. After that 5-day cruise, I stayed on Independence of the Seas. I took a back-to-back cruise, and I stayed on there. The first leg was 5 days. The second leg was a 4-day cruise. Just like the first cruise, the second cruise was also free. I didn't have to pay anything for the cruise fare, and I only had to pay port fees and taxes. Those were $126. You can see in the notes that I also had free play of $75. That free play can only be used in the casino, which I did use that in the casino to play, and I did make a video out of that because from that free play I was able to turn that money around, and it actually paid for my entire cruise, including this $126 port fees and taxes, gratuities, and some other things and some other expenses that I had during the cruise. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. On December 9th, once I was done on Independence of the Seas, on the same day, I walked right across the street. Technically, I didn't walk. There's a shuttle that they take you, that Royal Caribbean takes you from one ship to another. They call it side by side. So I left Independence of the Seas and I went over to Royal Caribbean's Allure of the Seas, and I had my third cruise, which was, again, a free cruise. Didn't have to pay anything for the cruise fare. That cruise was a 4-day cruise, and the port fees and taxes was $138. On December 13th, I left Allure of the Seas, and I had 1 day before my next cruise started. So on December 13th, I left. I was in Miami for those cruises, and then my next cruise was in Fort Lauderdale. I took Royal Caribbean's cruise shuttle from Allure of the Seas over to Fort Lauderdale Airport, and then I booked a hotel at Avid Hotel, which is an IHG hotel, and that's usually the hotels that I stay in, IHG brand hotels. So I booked a hotel on the 13th at an Avid hotel, and I used their free hotel shuttle to get from the airport to the hotel. I only stayed at that hotel 1 night. It's pretty expensive to stay in the hotels over in Fort Lauderdale. Even though I booked this pretty early, I wasn't able to get too much of a deal. That hotel cost me $207 plus taxes. That hotel I would not recommend. Most of the time when I stay in hotels, when I stay in hotels before I get on a cruise ship, I usually recommend the hotels. This one I don't recommend. For the price that I paid, which was $207 plus taxes, the hotel was, for that price point, it was not as good as some of the lower priced hotels that I've stayed in for like $100 and $115 per night. It was old. A lot of stuff was outdated. It needed a lot of maintenance. There were cracks. The towels were separating on the floor. A lot of different things like that. The bedding was old and needed to be replaced. You could see where the threads were coming apart. Like most of the IHG hotels that I've stayed in, this one unfortunately did not have a laundry room, so that was a negative. They did have breakfast, but there was no meat on the breakfast, which I'm a carnivore. So they had breakfasts that had egg whites and things like that, but there was no meat, which is something that I'm used to, whether it be bacon or ham or some kind of meat on a breakfast. The hotel was not close to anything. There were no restaurants, no gas stations, no convenience stores, nothing. So one thing it was close to, which I'm grateful for, it was close to the city bus line. So I was able to take the city bus and bring my laundry, go to a shopping center down the street, go do my laundry at a coin laundromat, a couple restaurants. I was able to grab some food and bring some back to the hotel. But overall, if I was to go back to Fort Lauderdale and take another cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, I would not stay at this hotel, especially at that price point. Over in Fort Lauderdale, I took 2 cruises. The very first cruise that I took was on Sun Princess, which was a 7-day cruise. This third cruise, like the other 3, was also a free cruise. However, I had never sailed with Princess before. I actually got this cruise from a casino match. So if you're not familiar, some cruise lines will match deals from other cruise lines. So since I already had free cruises with Royal Caribbean and Carnival, I sent one of my offers over to Princess, and they looked at the deal that I had, and they decided that they would like for me to come and take a cruise on one of their ships. And so I was blessed to be able to take a 7-day cruise on their newest ship, which was Sun Princess. And I didn't have to pay anything for the fare. The only thing I had to pay was, there was 2 things that I had to pay. One was a refundable $200 deposit. So I paid that, but I got that back. Now, I could have gotten it back on my credit card once the cruise is over, but I do pay the automatic gratuities on my cruises, and then sometimes I have other expenses like Wi-Fi, manicure, pedicure, things like that. So I did not get that back, but I used that $200 deposits towards my other expenses, which we'll see later in the video. And then I also had to pay, again, I didn't pay anything for the cruise fare itself. I also had to pay $179 for the port fees and taxes. So that's what that cruise cost me, $179 for 7 days on Sun Princess. On December 21st, when that cruise was over, again, I was in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale has a lot of cruise terminals. I decided to, since I got off the cruise ship early and I had plenty of time before my next cruise started, I decided to take a walk from one cruise terminal to the other, and my 5th cruise in December was on Holland America's Rotterdam ship. I have videos on the channel showing cabin tours and ship tours for all of these cruises, all 5 of these cruises that I took, so you can check those out if you are interested in possibly taking a cruise on one of these ships that I just named. The Holland America cruise was another free cruise from their casino match program. Just like I did with Princess, I sent in my offers from Carnival and Royal over to Holland America. I only sent one. I can't remember which cruise line it was, but you only have to send one. And I sent it over to them. They looked at it. They offered me a free 7-day cruise. And again, I'll leave the links to those casino match programs down in the description below if you are interested in checking those out. On the Holland America Rotterdam, I smile because I really love taking that cruise. The only thing that I had to pay for that one was the port fees and taxes. There was no cruise fare, no deposits, none of that stuff, only the port fees and taxes, which was $255. On Sun Princess, I did not play in the casino at all. On Holland America Rotterdam, I did play in the casino. I played $100 in the casino, and I intended, if you know my backstory, you'll know that I play about $100. When I play in the casino, I play about $100 a day. So I had planned to play $700 in that casino. Mind you, I live on cruise ships now, so I don't go in the casino on every cruise. I go if there's an incentive for me to do so, if I have some kind of free play, or I just feel like playing. Other than that, I don't go in the casinos at all. But because this was my first time on Holland America, and because I had such a good time, and I thought maybe in the future I might want to go sail with them again, so I might be able to get some casino deals. So I wanted to go ahead and play $700, $100 a day in the casino on this ship. I was going to say unfortunately, but fortunately, it didn't come to that. On the very first night when I put my $100 in, the machines were very loose, and I kept winning, losing, but it never went below my $100. And by the time the end of the cruise came, I was still up by $90, including my 100 plus the other 90. So I had a really good time in the casino, as you can probably tell. By the end of the cruise, I had a little over 3,000 points. I was not offered an immediate free cruise like some cruise lines will do. They'll give you a certificate by the end of the last day of the cruise. Holland America did not do that, but I did get over 3,000 points. I'm going to be on the lookout to see if they send me any offers, whether it's a free cruise or a really deeply discounted cruise. I'll be on the lookout for those. So let's see what happens. I ended the year by getting on this ship, Carnival Freedom, on December 30th, which was a New Year's cruise, obviously. But since most of this cruise was in January, I'm going to leave those for next month's video. Carnival Freedom, the ship that I'm on now, sailed out of Port Canaveral. When I left Fort Lauderdale, I had to make my way over to Orlando, and I chose to take the Brightline train. And we'll talk about those expenses in just a moment, but first I want to continue on with my housing expenses. So when I left Fort Lauderdale, I had booked a hotel for 2 nights at the Orlando International Holiday Inn Orlando International Airport for 2 nights, for the 28th and the 29th. Unfortunately, the Brightline train from Miami to Orlando, one of them crashed, and that made all the other trains delayed, including my train. We'll talk about that a little later on in the video. But it also meant that my train was delayed so much that I was not able to get to Orlando until the very next morning. I called them that night, called the hotel the night, once we found out that the trains were going to be severely delayed. Called the hotel. They said no problem, even though I was beyond my, beyond the cancellation point. I'm Diamond Elite now with ISG because I'm loyal just to that hotel, which is another story. Maybe we'll make a video on that one day. But they went ahead and canceled it. I didn't forfeit the deposit, that room. They just went ahead and canceled it. And so I ended up not sleeping anywhere. I slept on the train that night. I think we got to Orlando. I think we left at like 12 midnight. We didn't get to Orlando till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So my accommodations was sleeping on the train that night, so I don't have a hotel for that night. And then on the 29th, I was charged for 1 night in the Holiday Inn Orlando International Airport Hotel, and that came to $168. Before we go forward, I want to talk about a few expenses that you're not going to see in this video. The first one is my expenses, some miscellaneous expenses from spoiling the grandkids. On December 30th, even though I only had a few hours sleep on the train, I had already planned to spend the day with my grandkids, and I did not want to pass that up. I have 2 grandkids that live in Orlando, and we spent the day together. We spent the morning playing in the pool at the hotel. We walked across the street. There was an indoor playground. We had lunch right next door at TGI Fridays. Then we walked across the street. You know, I pulled out all the stops for the grandma. I hadn't seen them in a while. So I spoiled them and bought all the things. And then we went to 2 movies. We saw Mufasa and Moana 2. And so those expenses have nothing to do with cruise or my travel. So I'm not going to include those in this video. Other expenses that I'm not going to include in this video are related to my medical. On December 5th, when I did the back-to-back cruise with Independence of the Seas, I took the free trolley in Miami to downtown Miami, and I hopped on a city bus, took that city bus over to a Super Walmart, got my prescriptions filled, and then did the reverse coming back. And of course, you go in Walmart, you can't just get prescriptions, you got to get other stuff, right? But the prescriptions, the medical portion of it. So in my previous videos, I have included how much my health insurance was and my dental insurance, which I think they're like $60, $65 together. Not very much, and beyond the scope of this channel. And then my prescriptions, because I was out of Georgia, my insurance didn't pay for my prescriptions, but I don't take very much prescriptions and they don't cost very much. I think it was like $40 something for all my prescriptions. I'm not going to include those in the videos any longer because I have a separate account from my savings and investments that I use for my travel. I have a separate HSA account that I have a separate credit card for my HSA, and I swipe that, and that's what all my medical expenses come out of, whether it's my premiums for my health insurance, my prescription medicines, even some of my over-the-counter medicines if I use it for that. So those were my medical expenses in December. I did refill my prescriptions. Again, it was, I think, $45, something like that, and that's for 90 days. And then I have my regular ongoing premium for my health insurance and dental. So those are not included in these expenses. And the third thing that I'm not going to include in these monthly expense updates is casino free play and any kind of wins that I have in the casino. For the casino free play, sometimes I'll get $50, $100, whatever the case may be, but I can only use that in the casino. So I don't want to include that as considered income. because I may put that in the machine and the machines take it all up and I have nothing left. So it's not something that I can count on. I can't use it towards gratuities or anything like that. So yeah, you won't see my casino free play and my wins and losses in these videos. Putting that all together, I ended up spending a little over $1,200 for the 30-day period. It's wild to me how one night hotel stay can be more than a 7-day stay on a cruise. But that's the nature of what I'm doing. Now on to my other cruise and travel related expenses. Here are the other expenses from my first cruise. You see the automatic gratuities there, $93. And also I splurged on taking a tour in Jamaica. I hadn't been to Jamaica in a while, and I had only been to Ocho Rios. So this time we were in Falmouth, I think it was. I think it's called Falmouth, if I'm pronouncing that right. And so I wanted to take a tour of Montego Bay because I'd never been to Montego Bay. So that's the only splurge that I did during this cruise. And I did take footage of the excursion that I had over in Montego Bay, which I know it's been a while. I am backed up on footage. I have so much footage to show you of the different things on the cruises, and I'm trying to catch up so you can see as much as I've seen. But I am busy enjoying these cruise ships, so you'll have to wait a little bit longer for that one. On the second cruise, I did order some chicken wings from room service, but I really didn't spend on much else. If you notice on the expenses, when I was on Independence of the Seas, the internet cost $28.99. You'll see on the next slide that when I was on Allure of the Seas, the internet was $2 more. Did Royal Caribbean happen to change their rate, increase their rate by $2 in the time that I switched ships? Or do they have different rates for different ships? I don't know. I never noticed this before. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at my previous slides to see what it was. But I'm just curious if anyone knows. Did it change, or is it different on different ships? If you know, let the rest of us know in the comments, please. And for those of you who say, oh, just go get a Starlink or just go get etc., etc., the cruise ships do not allow for those other Wi-Fi devices to be on the ship. And I'm not spending a bunch of money risking losing it, getting it confiscated, and can't use it. So that's not an option as far as using an alternative for Wi-Fi. Thanks for the offer, but that is not an option for me. When I was on Allure, I did also get a $50 onboard credit. That onboard credit was not from a deposit or anything that I paid, but when I booked this cruise, I was actually on another cruise ship. I don't remember which cruise ship I was on when I made the reservation, but they have a thing called Next Cruise. While you're on the ship, if you book, as in not actually book it, but put down a deposit for your future cruise, if you know 100% sure that you're going to go on another Royal Caribbean cruise in the next 12 months, if you go ahead and put down a $200 deposit, then you can use that booking and that $200 towards any future cruise in the next 12 months. And if you do that, then they give you incentives, $25, $50, $75, $100, depending on which cabin type and how long the cruise is. So that's what my $50 onboard credit was for on Allure of the Seas. That $50 onboard credit, it offset my shuttle. I took a shuttle from the cruise port to the airport, and that's really the only other expense that I paid for during this cruise. After I left Allure, as I said, I took the cruise shuttle from the cruise port to the airport. Then when I got to Fort Lauderdale, my other expenses were, as I said, I took the city bus. I went to Wendy's for lunch and had a sandwich. I went to Subway and got a sandwich to take back to the hotel with me for dinner. And I spent money in the laundry room. Those laundry rooms, oh my gosh, them things that went up since I had to go to a coin laundry. I mean, I've done coin laundry in hotels before, and they're usually $2 or $2.50 a load. These things were $3.50 a load, $1.25, which the little boxes of detergent is usually about $1, or I can get them free at the hotels. They were $1.25 each, so I had to buy 2 detergents and dryer sheets. And then the dryers, I want to say it was only $1, and I think I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 that I had to do for the dryer, but man, whew, that's expensive. On Sun Princess, my only other expenses was I did a manicure, which that's what that $70 for, that includes the tip. They did a good job, but I wanted to let my nails kind of air out, because when you get the gel, when you have it taken off, it kind of strips some of your nail bed. And so sometimes, occasionally, I'll let my nails air out for a week or 2. And I take my vitamins and kind of let my nails strengthen back up. I did get a manicure on Sun Princess, but you'll see when I went over to Holland America, I got another manicure. When I was on Sun Princess, the weather was bad, and we ended up not going to Princess K. Is it Keys? Princess Keys, because the weather was so bad, and that's why you see higher than normal credit, refunded credit for port fees. And I was really bummed about that because obviously I had never cruised on Princess before, like I said, and I had obviously had never been to their private island before, so I was really looking forward to that, but it didn't happen. So sometimes it happens like that. C'est la vie, right? On the last cruise I was on this month, or in December, was Holland America Zutterdam. As I said, I went back to the spa. I had my full regular gel manicure pedicure, and also mentioned in the ship tour video, I did have my hair braided. It's braided up under here, and had her sew in the wig, so that's what those expenses were for. I also played $100 in the casino, which I mentioned, and we also missed a stop. I can't remember which port it was. It was either Amber Cove or Grand Turk. I can't remember, but we did miss a stop, but the winds were really, really high, so we couldn't dock. And so that's why, again, I have another higher than normal refund on port fees. After I left the Zutterdam, I took the Brightline train to Orlando. If you saw my previous expense videos, you know that probably would have been cheaper for me to fly, but I booked this way back in May, and I didn't realize at the time that I was going to be racking up so many airline points. I'm not mad at myself because I've always been curious about riding the Brightline train, being that I was raised in Orlando and I watched the growth of them building the train. So I always wondered what it was like to ride on the Brightline train. I did get a sneak peek from my friends over at Primetime Travelers. Hey, Dan and Tori, if you are interested in any kind of traveling on trains, especially Amtrak, but as I said, I watched their video on Brightline. Make sure you go and check out their channel. They have other content besides trains, but that's their main content. And I think they're going to start something new, hopefully. We shall see. But yeah, check them out if you are so inclined. One thing I learned from them is to buy a premium ticket, and it was definitely worth the upgrade. I paid $124 for the premium ticket. It allowed me to, one, obviously get better a better seat on the train, and I had the option to just have just one seat. So they have where there's two seats on one side or just one seat on the other side. Being that I'm solo and I didn't have anybody else with me, it was really good for me to just have the single seat by myself, and it was up front at the front of the train, so premium. But then addition to that, Dan had mentioned in the video about the premium lounge, which was really good. When I first got there, I couldn't go in the lounge because you're only allowed in the lounge 2 hours before your train leaves, and I got there way early because coming from the cruise ship. But so I sat in the regular area, and I was kind of hungry. It was I had ate breakfast on the cruise ship, but then I was ready for lunch and still had a ways before I could go in the lounge. So I did a splurge on that $15. It wasn't 50. I forget how much it was, but with tax, it was $15 for a sandwich and chips, and then almost $4 for a drink. So yeah, a total of $143. And then once it was 2 hours before my train, I was able to go in the premium lounge. Unfortunately, at that point, one of the Brightline, if you saw my live the other day, one of the Brightline trains crashed with a fire truck. From my understanding, there were no deaths. There were some injuries, but not anything that was life-threatening. So thank God for that. Hope the ones who got hurt are healing now. But yeah, so all the trains got delayed. So I was even more glad that I had the premium because I was able to sit in the lounge basically the whole time. I think from like 12:45 all the way, 12:45, because my train was supposed to leave at 2:45. Yeah, so I was able to use the premium lounge from 12:45 all the way until when my train finally left the station, which I think it was around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So I got to work on some things on my laptop without the disturbance of all the other. It was really crowded in the main lounge area. There were some rumblings over in the premium lounge. A few people had kids in there, which that's fine. One little girl, she was whining all the time. I felt bad for her mama. But anyway, while I was in there, was able to, snack off and on. They had lots of food, drinks, sodas, bottled water, all kinds of stuff. And they were constantly refilling it. So thanks, Dan, for that tip. Brightline, I owe you for that one. And yeah, so I was super glad to be able to have that experience. And now I know what it's like to ride the Brightline train. Outside of me getting all these deep discounts for flights, I would definitely take the Brightline train again. And if that's something that comes up on your radar, I would definitely give it a go. Yep. I highly recommend it. So here is a list of all of my December expenses. My miscellaneous expenses were higher than normal because I took the excursion over in Jamaica and I spent a little extra on tips and this t-shirt right here and trying out some little candies and different things like that. I also bought a new blouse over in Amber Cove. I had the extra spa expenses for my hair and doing the double manicure pedicure, along with some of my usual out-of-pocket miscellaneous expenses. My total expenses, including everything, housing, transportation, food, and even what I consider YouTube expenses, because I would not have those if I wasn't doing YouTube, which are the Wi-Fi expenses, and because I have income, when I have income, I like to make a donation to the church that I follow over on YouTube when I'm over at sea. So I had those expenses in there. Everything came to about $3,300 for the entire month. $3,300 sounds high as I'm trying to stay. If the camera's moving, I apologize. It's because I'm on a ship. I'm at the very back of the ship. They have some really good lighting. Obviously, you can see that I'm in the dining room. And I came here because I wanted to just get out of the cabin. And they have really great light back here. And nobody's using the dining room right now. It's a little bit before 3 o'clock. So we got a couple hours before dinner. But I see the camera moving, so I apologize for that. I know $3,300 sounds really high because I said my budget is $2,500 a month. But when you take out the YouTube related expenses, you can see in the middle of the chart that says total monthly expenses is highlighted there in green and yellow. You can see that I only missed my $2,500 budget by $112. The yellow highlighted area shows where I went over my $500 budget in the miscellaneous category. And as I just showed, if I hadn't had that extra manicure, I would have been on budget. As far as my travel budget, the top left corner shows that I stayed under the $2,000 a month because I had a total of $1,849 in my travel expenses. When I look at the top middle chart and compare that $1,800 to last month, I can see my hotel stays were the biggest reason for the decrease. Over on the right hand side, I can see that year to date I am at $1,853 average, so I'm still under my goal of $2,000 average expenses per month. When I look at the average daily amount of the cruise expenses, that little starburst there on the bottom right-hand corner, the $1,849 divided by 30 days, it comes to $62 a day. So yay, I met my goal of staying under $65 per day. I had a few things that impacted that. Obviously, because I didn't pay for that extra day in the hotel, so that impacted it, right? That would have been another $100, $150 towards my monthly expenses. So that was kind of a blessing. I was expecting the December expenses to go up significantly because I knew that sailing during the holidays was going to be more expensive than the regular months. So I was expecting for November, December, and January to go up. November, I canceled a cruise on Carnival Conquest because I decided to spend those 3-4 days with my family for Thanksgiving. So that's why November didn't go up as high as I thought it would. For December, I was planning to book a Christmas cruise, and also the week before Christmas was pretty expensive as well. The 2 free cruises from Princess and Holland America made the biggest difference. While on Holland America, our ship had to go and try to help the Norwegian Epic in a man overboard search. It was surreal to me because I had booked that cruise, that ship. I had booked a cruise on that ship the week before, and you can see that I paid a deposit of $300, and that 7-day cruise was supposed to be $1,252. But when Princess gave me the free cruise during the same week, I canceled this one, and I fully expected to lose my $300 deposit, but surprisingly, NCL sent me the entire $300 back. For me, that left a positive impression. I'm already curious about sailing on Norwegian. I haven't checked to see if they have a casino match program yet, but I'll probably check that out probably later because I'm already booked up on a bunch of free cruises. But I've never sailed on Norwegian NCL. I've never sailed on them. I don't have anything booked except for that one that I ended up canceling. So we'll see how it goes if they're in my future or not. I don't have any income because I quit my job and I live on savings. I live on savings and investments. So any income from YouTube is a bonus blessing. And it helps me preserve my nest egg, obviously, because the more I make from YouTube, the less I have to withdraw from my savings and investments. In December, this channel averaged a little over 7,000 views per day, which brought in $2,781 of revenue. A little bit less than last month, but it was still more than my $2,500 a month budget. So I am in awe. And of course, I appreciate you for tuning in to watch my videos, which drives the views up, which gets me some revenue. As I said, this was a little less than last month as I made less videos because I took off a week of posting videos to spend Thanksgiving with my family over in Georgia. I had pre-made some videos, but it was still less in December than it was in November because I did take that time off in November. I recently learned through the YouTube Over 40 program that I am in, I recently learned that January is the slowest month for advertisers. So now that the holidays are over, something about advertisers take another look at their budgets and stuff like that. And as the months go on, it increases, and usually November and December are the highest months for YouTube ad revenue. So I won't be surprised if these numbers adjust again in January. And the fact that I got monetized after just 6 months of full-time travel, about 7 months being on YouTube, is still amazing to me. So I'm still learning YouTube, but I learned how to turn on the thanks button, and 5% of the revenue this month actually came from you. So thank you so much for the financial contributions. It's still really amazing to me, and I'm super surprised. Someone actually had to tell me to turn on the thanks button. I'm still learning. Be patient with me. I'm still learning. So once I turn that button on and you sent me a financial donation, that really, on top of all the other, the comments and just the views and everything in combination, but this is an additional encouragement for me that's to do my best in bringing you content that's valuable to you, and I see that you appreciate it by you're making the donation. So I'm going to keep doing my best to provide content that is valuable to you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You can see here from the channel analytics that I made 19 videos, and my mind is blown away that I was able to do that. Still spend time with my family, still take excursions, still go on port tours, look around at the ports and do some shopping and film it and all that good stuff. And on top of all that, still have lots of fun on cruise ships. If you would have told me this a year ago, I would have been like, nah, bro, that's just too much. That's doing all the things. But doing YouTube really is not as much hard work as I thought it would be, only because of the program that I'm in. If I would have tried to do this on my own, I'm sure that I would not be seeing the numbers that I see. So I mentioned this in previous videos, but if you are someone who's looking for a side hustle, who's thinking about doing YouTube, who's not really sure where to start, or you want to start but you want to see some progress as soon as possible, nothing is guaranteed in life, right? I wasn't even sure how soon I would even get monetized. But if you are over 40 and you're thinking about doing YouTube, this program has been a real blessing to me. It's called YouTube Over 40, and I have a link in the description below if you are interested in starting your own YouTube journey. Thank you all so much for the comments and sharing the videos. You can see how many comments that I had here in December, how many times the videos were shared. As a current subscriber and viewer, you can see on the right-hand side that your engagement has brought a lot of new viewers to the channel, which means I get to share this amazing journey and all these tips and tricks that I'm learning with more people who are looking for their paradise. When I did a little research, I saw that there are about 2,000 new videos that are uploaded to YouTube every minute. That is wild. And to know that you decided to spend your time, give me your eyes and your ears to watch my video, knowing that you have millions of different videos to choose from, and to watch the video that I posted is surreal to me. So I want to say a special thank you to everyone who not only watched, but also engaged and left a comment, asked a question, shared a video, and an extra thank you and air hug from somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean that I am at. For those of you who comment on just about every video that I've posted, a lot of you have been here from the beginning. Not sure how you ever found my video, because I have no idea how this works behind the scenes. I hear about the YouTube algorithm, but don't nobody really know how that works, right? At least not anyone on my level. But I just want to say thank you again. So I just want to end this video with an opportunity for us to get to know each other. Some of you have reached out to me in email, even though I was like, why they emailing me? This thing say for for business inquiries only. And the only reason why that email is out there is because a couple people who wanted to do collabs with me wanted us to do, what do they call it, lives, video lives, wanted to find a way to reach out to me. So I learned that I needed to have a business email out there. So that's why that email is out there. I can't, unfortunately, respond to all the emails that I get. And you have to also remember that I am a very introverted, solo, female, newly retired, old lady, traveler. And I've only watched it a couple of times, but I know there's a show out there, or used to be out there, called Catfish. Y'all, I know y'all know my face and everything, but I don't know you. And I have to be extra safe. I have to be extra careful, not just the fact that I'm traveling solo, but the fact that I'm an older person, the fact that I'm retired, and the fact that I'm a female. There's a lot of people out there that will attempt to take advantage of that. And so as much as as much as I feel like you are my family and we go way back, I still have to be extra careful and putting myself out there. So I do want to get to know you better. And I think probably the next best step, unless someone else has another suggestion, if so, put it down in the comments. But I think the next best step for us to get to know each other better, oh, let me say this right now. I cannot put my my cruise itinerary out there in advance because of everything that I just said. So I can't tell you which cruises I'm going to be on next. I can't invite someone to come and cruise with me. I'm not yet at the point of group cruises. Maybe that will come later. I see lots of people doing it, but I'm just not at that point right now. What I am at the point of is, if you would like to get to know each other better, you and I can get to know each other better, and you can get to know the other people in the community better, is I am interested, if you're willing, we can go ahead and set up a Facebook page. I don't know how to do that yet. I'm still learning stuff, but I'm gonna figure it out. I thought about that while I was doing this video, but we're gonna figure it out. But the thing is, I'm not always on Wi-Fi. Most times I'm on Wi-Fi, but I'm not always on Wi-Fi. And you don't always see, let me see, what's the best way to say this? There are a lot of inappropriate comments that get posted to YouTube in the comments below that you never see, because there are different filters that YouTube allows me to put on there to hold certain comments, and then those comments never see the light of day. And this is a channel to encourage people to find their paradise. We don't need spammers. We don't need negative Nancys. We don't need the pessimists out there, people who just want to bust your bubble. We don't need that kind of stuff. I'm able to do that and monitor the comments over in YouTube, and I've been able to do that pretty good, I think. There may have been one or two that got through and then had to find them later. But if we're to make this community on Facebook, I'm not sure that I would have the capacity to do that. One, I'm not sure about their filtering system and how it will work as far as comparing to what I have available to me now on YouTube. Two, I'm not sure how quickly I could respond to anything that did get through. And three, remember, I'm still retired. I don't want it to get to where this is a lot of work for me, and then I'm not able to bring you valuable content because I'm spending all my time over on Facebook and over on filtering different things and stuff like that. So I'm still, again, just enjoying retirement. Happen to have an outlet here to be able to share that journey with you and share some tips and tricks to be able to help you in maybe your aspirations to cruise full time on cruise ships, or just get some discounts on regular cruises, or find other alternatives in your life as far as living on a budget, things like that. So I want to be able to still bring you quality content, but also still be able to get to know you better. That being said, if there are some reliable people out there who are willing to volunteer their time and act as moderators, I don't think we would need more than 3 to 5, maybe. I'm not sure. But if you're interested in doing that, then maybe we can go forward and make another community over on Facebook, and we could get that started, and then we could get to know each other better. Does that sound good? If so, then let me know in the comments and we'll go from there. In the meantime, while you're waiting for my next awesome video that I plan on making, In the meantime, while you're waiting for the next awesome content that comes out of Poverty to Paradise, I feel empowered now. Watch these videos up here. Hopefully there's some information that will help you on your journey from poverty to paradise. And in the meantime, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you again for all the progress that you've helped this channel make. Thank you for blessing me, and I hope to see you on the next cruise.